So date 1st of July 2024, time is this. And in the last session we have covered custom directives, custom attribute and the structural directives. So we have discussed what do you mean by directives. There are three types of directives in Angular: component directive, attribute directive, and the structural directive. We talked about this in detail. Then in attribute directive, creating your own attribute directive. So what is attribute directive? So this would be getting placed on the element. This would be getting placed on element as the attribute. The way section is having class as an attribute or property, you can say. In the same fashion, you can create the custom attribute also, app mgcol. So this is the custom attribute directive. So at that time we have seen.
Here section is an element, right?
Correct. Section is the HTML element. And the class is what? It's property, attribute, whatever you want to say.
So, what is the difference between property and attribute?
Yeah. Technically, attribute comes in HTML5. If you remember, I have shown you the 8 data hyphen ABC. Data hyphen ABC is equals to ABC. So this thing has called as attribute in HTML5. Now this directive represents both the things, either the property or the attributes, something like this. And that's why it is called as attribute directive. So this is a HTML standard property, and this is the custom thing. HTML5 also says that you can create the custom property like this, a data attribute like this, data hyphen ABC. If you remember, we have seen Bootstrap. I have shown you the Bootstrap custom attributes on the other day. So just to go to the components, alerts, and can you see this role is created by the Bootstrap team? It's not the standard thing. Or okay, this role is here also. And yeah, area, can you see data BS dismiss, area label. These are the HTML5 things. But same thing you can do in an Angular as well. That is the attribute. You cleared it or not?
That means user-defined attribute.
User-defined attribute. But here, if you create the user-defined attribute in HTML5, you need to write a JavaScript code to use this internally. Or to use this internally, you need to write a JavaScript code. Similarly, if you create something like this, custom attribute, you need to write code in a TypeScript, which is nothing but this code. If you attach this, there is some meaning, right? So magic color needs to be generated. So Angular says that wherever you attach this directive, I will call it as a host, or you can access the element on which you have attached this directive by means of element ref. You can access the element on which this directive is attached or placed, that can be accessed by element ref one way. So direct access to the element you can get by means of this element ref. So until you will not practice this, you will not get a conceptually what's exactly happening over here, right? So this is the first way. Now, another thing is a host binding. If you want to bind with one of the property, or in our case, this is the section, and you want to bind with the style of this section. So you do host binding style dot background. So style is a standard HTML property, and background is one of the style on the host. So this variable is representing a background of the host, style background of the host. Similarly, this function will represent mouse enter event of the host. This function will represent mouse exit event of the host. Who is the host? Where you have attached this directive. Where you have attached this directive? To the section. So this host listener represents mouse exit event of the host, mouse enter event of the host, and the background style of the host. It is straight. Clear? Now repeat directive. Repeat directive. Let's run the project. cd desktop, web dev angular, cd day what? 55. nvm use 18, npm start, localhost 4200. Structural directive. The directive is nothing but what changes the structure of the page is called as structural directive. *ngif is a structural directive. If this is true, then section is visible or placed into the DOM. If ngif is false, section would be removed from the DOM. So we have created our own app repeat. I want to repeat this thing 5 times. If you inspect it, and see here, if you see here, this is the 5 times repeated. Can you see this is the 5 times repeated? And if you see here, high, 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 and high, 5 times repeated over here. That is nothing but what this hashtag app, sorry, star app repeat 5. Correct? So here you have attached this to the section. That's why section is getting repeated 5 times. Okay. Now if you go over here, what do you mean by context? If you want to pass something from this TypeScript to the HTML, context is used. Now, if you just comment this line and see what happens, the repetition won't be there. So create embedded view means what? Whatever is there inside the section. So technically *ngif is represented in this way. *ngif is a sugaring syntax for this ng template. So meaning of this *ngif is nothing but this much. So you choose. If you want to write this much code, you can write it. Or if you want to avoid that much code, and if you want to write only this much, that is okay. So *ngif is equals to true, say hi. So this would be returning yes, say hi. And this is the template reference, and this is the embedded view. In short, this is what? The template reference this is what the template reference, in which template shall I write it, and this is the embedded view. This embedded one container would be getting created, and inside container this section would be getting placed. That is nothing but what the container view is, embedded view is. That is nothing but what the embedded view is. Now I have commented this guy, that's why it is not getting created. So here just uncomment this, and if you see, the many times high and this high is getting printed, correct? Hello?
Yeah.
So when you say embedded view, if you want to put something inside the ng template, this is the ng template is the modified template tag. Template tag. This is the standard HTML5 template tag. Whatever you write over here will not be loaded immediately. Template tag to hold the content that will be hidden when the page loads. Use the template to hold the some content that will be hidden when the page loads. So this won't be getting displayed immediately, but who is going to display this guy? This JavaScript. When your page gets loaded, this template won't be getting shown. Then what is going to happen? This function will show this template. Okay. An ng template is modified version of the template tag from the Angular. So Angular team have written this. It's the modified template tag. Correct? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So these are the structural directive. What exact question you have in the structural directives? When you say this create embedded view, okay, let's go to the Angular, and if you want to see the documentation of the embedded view directives, structural directives, template reference. Okay, yeah, create the view container ref dot create a embedded view with a context object that contains the key called as $implicit, where you can assign the data. If you wanna store some data, so when you say, just forget about this $implicit right now. What they are saying, from the TypeScript, if you want to send some data to the HTML, just forget about that right now. Just try to understand only this much part. So VC container dot create embedded view. Why it is called as embedded? It would be embedding inside the template ref. That's what is called as the embedded view. So I wanted to show you that part. Embedded view. It was pretty straight in the older document. View container ref. View container ref. Okay, just a minute. if you want to see that documentation using view container ref. Yeah, a view container is a node in an Angular's component tree that can contain the content. Any component or directive can inject the view container ref to get the reference to a view container corresponding that component or the directive location in the node. Okay, I will explain this guy in another way. Just type console.log vcref. Now go here, and in the console, see, this is the view container ref. It is holding actual elements. Host view, if you see, app root is there, then host t node. It is the thing which is available internally in the Angular. So this is the Angular's element or component tree. So whenever you need to add some data in an Angular's component tree, first you need to create the embedded view, and inside that you need to place the data, and the data is available in this template ref. So this is the view container ref, which is holding whole container tree, whole component tree of your project. And if you want to add dynamically something, first you need to add, first see yellow and other thing, first you need to add star ng if template ref. First you need to add this node, and then into node you need to add the details. Hello, that's what this code is doing.
Yes, yes. Okay.
That's what this code is doing. So context is nothing but the data you are having. So here you can say dollar. I don't want to show you this implicit. I think. Okay, no problem. Just don't worry about that part right now. Forget about it. But components, when you say the view container ref, in addition to using component directly in a template, you can dynamically render the component. There are two main ways of dynamically rendering the component: in the ng component outlet, or in your TypeScript code view container ref, or what, view container ref. If you see here ng container and star ng container outlet get bio component means, so what is this? If you want to add, let's not, this is little bit advanced part. You will need this thing if you want to create your own dialog. So on one component, you are adding another component dynamically. That's what this part is. Okay. In this case, creating the node dynamically and then adding the component is nothing but the view container ref is. Okay. So do you have concern with this set function or what? Hello?
Yeah.
So if you see, we have created the class car, private underscore speed. This is the private property. I want to make the public getter and setter. So get speed, set speed. At the time of TypeScript, we have seen this. Get speed, set speed. Same thing you have written setter over here. Right? Name of the setter would be. Now there is no private field. Still you can write, if there is a class, say BMW, and there is no private field, still I can write speed up. No problem. And here we can write the speed up and the val. So something you're doing like this over here. Is of type number, right? So BMW, there is no private field, but still I can write the speed up method. That's the feature of the programming language. So technically this is coming from here. If you have any private field and you want public setter and the public setter and the public getter, you can use the get and set keywords of the TypeScript. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is about the directives. So here I can write Angular directives revision. What is the next topic? DI. This is nothing but what the services are. Okay, a bit lengthy topic. Let's create one example. Let's create one example. Now, so this is my one component. Okay, this is the thing. And I have this comp A and I have comp B. Component A, component B. So in the component A, we will have a button. Say OK. If I click this button, or in a component A, there is a seek bar. And here is one text. So if I move the range over here, range bar over here, it should change the size of this text. This concept is called as inter component communication. Can you tell me how do you do that? I will write again. So this is my one component. This is the text. This is my another component. And inside this, there is a range bar, seek bar, whatever you call it as. And you move the range. So inside this component, text should be changed or font should be changed. Can you tell me how do you do that? Yes. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. I said I don't.
Okay. So I can create a new project. Cd mk mkdir day 56 day 56 ng new data sharing css no Just a minute. Yes. So one stack cd web development Angular cd day 56 data share nvm use 18. Okay, so let's create at least UI. Let's create the UI. Can we use Bootstrap? It will take time actually, not progress. Scroll spy. Toast. Okay, just a minute. Bootstrap 5 range bar. In the Bootstrap, under the forms, there is a range component. A range component. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell me how do you integrate the Bootstrap? How do you integrate the bootstrap in Angular? Yes.
We need to install Bootstrap
Correct.
and we need to import that.
Correct. First, we need to install the bootstrap.
So, Aniruddha,
Yeah.
for each project, it is a separate.
Yeah, each project you need to do separately. Because your project is different. Presently, we are creating multiple projects, right? That's why you might be thinking you need to do separately. But in the real time, you would be creating only one project. Correct? npm install bootstrap. Bootstrap. We have installed the bootstrap. What's the next step?
To
Import it in the style.css.
CSS file.
Add import node modules at what? Node modules.
CSS.
No, I need
Suppose CSS and then
that line. I also don't remember that part.
you can check into day 48.
Day 48, right? So you don't need to remember anything. Ask the chat GPT. You don't need to absolutely remember anything. If you ask me, I see everything. Before, I was not remembering this part, how to do the range bar in a bootstrap. You don't need to. Okay. So here, app component. Let's create the two components. Since the components are standalone, I can straight away create like this. Range comp. It's a bad practice. Range comp. And what we have, another text comp dot ts. Range comp dot ts. Just import this template in where both, this is a bad practice actually, app range, don't need routed, template URL, we need HTML for this guy, or straight away write template here. We don't need any style, because in one place we would be having the name of this is, you should create the ngGC.
Yeah.
Range component, the text component, router outlet. We don't need router outlet. Even you can delete that configuration from here. App routes, delete this file. You don't need it. App config, delete this and delete this guy. Provide router. You don't need it. Okay. Text comp, text component, app text. So here we can say h1. So don't write over here because you don't get IntelliSense over here. App text. You can create a separate file also, absolutely fine, no problem. h1 app range, and in an app component root of the tree we need to write section or div class container bootstrap. Remember that we are using bootstrap. Inside container there would be column, class column, and inside the columns there would be row, class row. There would be two rows we would be having. In this row there would be text component, app text, and this is also app range. Okay, component npm start. Okay, app component routelet not needed. Remove this. Okay, standalone true. Do we have written everywhere standalone true, standalone true? It has much significance, but don't worry right now. So here a range component, text component. Yeah, can you see app text, app range? Bootstrap is integrated. Automatically margin has been added over here, which says that Bootstrap and font also changed. Bootstrap is there. Now go to the range. Yeah.
Just go to that bootstrap code and then HTML file.
Yep.
Yeah. So this class container called,
built-in classes of the Bootstrap.
So what it exactly?
Yeah, we'll see that.
How to follow this sequence?
No.
In the container, we should have a column.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm going to cover this thing separately. You don't know right now what is this. Okay. Absolutely fine. I'm going to talk about, so we have covered Bootstrap integration and few components we have covered. But the core of the Bootstrap, the grid structure, you know what is a grid, you know what is a flex, right? But the way Bootstrap implements it, we are going to see it. Just don't worry about this call and row. Forget about it right now. In a one column, we have these rows. Hello?
Yeah.
So these are the built-in classes. Container is built-in class of the Bootstrap, which gives you the 12 column grid. This gives you the column. And row gives you a rows. If you see, this is one row. This is one row. This is another row. And whole is one column. If you inspect it, body, app root, this div, see this is one column, this is one column. Sorry, this is one row, this is one row, this is another column. Right? You can add n number of columns as you want. Sorry, div.call. This is the shortcut, div.call. Now if you refresh it, automatically columns are getting created. Just don't worry about this right now. So this is the container. This much is one column. Presently we don't have any content over here. Hi. So width would be automatically taken. So this is a full width column. This is the row. This is the row. We'll talk about this. Just don't worry. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have one column. We have these two rows. Now let's get this range bar. Range bar in app range. In app range. Okay, input type range, class form range, built-in class, and ID you don't need it. In Angular we don't need ID. If you go here, And can you see you got the range bar? Can you see this is the classical bootstrap range bar we have. Now what? Now in app text component, the same text, app text we have, or we can say app text. If you want to do some fancy stuff, just add it like this, app text. Now if I move this range, we need to have the event. Can you tell me which event you would be having? So here we can set the min and max to the range bar. Min 0.1 to max 2.0. Okay, max what? 2.0. So this is my range. Oh, okay. So I think this would be from 0 to 10. Like this, 0 to 10. Now in the text component, what we need to do, if I change this, the text size should be incremented. If I reduce this, text size would be reduced. That's what the idea is. That's what we want to implement. So first, we need to capture the event. Input type range, which event is there? Event on change. Which event is there? We need to capture that event in Angular. So let's see the change event. What is the event? Change. And here we change is equals to handle change. And here we can say handle change. Here we can pass dollar event. E is of type event. Console.log. So how do we get the event? So const el is equals to e dot target. We need to have the actual HTML element as HTML element dot value va HTML input element dot value. And here we can print the EL. Let us see what happens. Can you see 5? Exactly center 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 10. That is correct. So whenever the change bar range is going to be changed, you are going to get this function called. Now if you look at this app component.html, so function is getting called over here. Means this is the another component, this is another component. Right? So event is inside this component. Event is triggered inside this component. You need to take that event which is triggered inside out of this component. So how do you do that? How do you do that? How do you take this in event which is generating? Here it is handling, that is okay. But I want this event outside of this component. How do you do that? Answer is event emitter. Right? So here we can say font change is equals to event. We will not use event emitter hence from now. Once we learn the signals, event emitter new at output. At what output? So if you don't give any name over here, name of your custom event would be same as this variable name. If you give name, that would be the given name. Otherwise, the name of this custom event, name of this variable would be the name of this custom event. That is nothing but what? Font change. Okay, font change is the thing. Now we need to capture the value. So from here we are emitting. So here we can say font change, this dot font change dot emit this EL. We need to emit this EL. Why?
Space.
Why problem with the EL? Is of type number. Font change dot emit. Oh, EL is of type number. To int. Oh, sorry, I'm not in the Kotlin. It's TypeScript. So parse int is the function, and then we can pass EL. So you convert it to the integer. Okay, so you have given that event outside. Now in an app, see, remember that. So this is the app component, and here you are going to get event. So here we can say on receive font, and here we can say fnt is of type number. Here we can say fnt is 0 right now, and here we can say this dot fnt. So we have captured in the parent component. So event is getting transmitted from this component to the outside. Outside means what? To the app component. So in the app component there is the fnt variable. So we will just assign this function on receive font to this thing. So what will happen? Inside that there is a fnt variable. So in app component there is a fnt variable. In an app component there is a fnt variable. So whatever this dollar event would be having a value of newly generated range, that value is assigned to the fnt. Now I want to assign the fnt, this is the variable fnt which is available in app component, to this text component, right? So here we can have fnt, one of the variable, and number we can have, is equals to 0 in the beginning. Remember that this is going to emit the value. This guy is going to emit the value. That value is getting stored in parent, that is app component, and that would be giving input to this guy, which means that fnt is equals to the variable fnt in the TypeScript, and this fnt would be fnt, and it would be having at input. That's it. And here instead of this h1 we can say the paragraph, and we can say style dot font size dot em is equals to this fnt. So this fnt, style dot font size fnt, this fnt, fnt, this dot fnt, app text fnt, this fnt, font change, spelling is correct, font change on receive font, font change, font change on receive font, on receive font dollar event. What the problem is? The set attribute is not at, is not what? Failed to execute the set attribute on the element is not valid attribute name. App text component add input fnt is of type 0. Okay, fnt txt, and here fnt txt, fnt failed to execute the set attribute on element. Why? App text standalone true, template title fnt txt number 0 at input, I don't see any problem. App text fnt is there, fnt 0 is there. Property binding, custom property fnt txt, fnt txt is equals to fnt. Okay, let's write 2. Okay, simply assign 2. Then the property fnt does not exist on the, I see this fnt okay, so input binding is correct, fnt yeah, if you change it, this guy would change. So data sharing with the help of parent component, data sharing with the help of parent component, Angular data sharing with data sharing using parent component. Hello?
Yes.
Did you get what we have done exactly? So one component is emitting and the same value is getting inputted. Here outputting, inputting. Hello?
No.
So you may go through the code as well. If you want to revise it, you can revise it as well. So we shall continue tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.